Where I live, our water supplier is dealing with an algae bloom, and the water making our water taste like lake water. Uh, Lucky for us, it's not a toxic algae bloom, but the heat and the hotter that the climate gets, the more that there will be toxic algae blooms, along with, high amounts of pollution in the ocean, which helps spurs the formation of algae blooms.
Almost as soon as a new day dawns, the calls start flooding in.
On the shoreline, a female sea lion.
There's our animal right there.
Rescue workers from Southern California's Marine Mammal Care Center on the hunt for a distressed sea lion. This stranded female, one of hundreds afflicted with domoic acid, a neurotoxin eating away at her brain, causing confusion, aggression, and in many cases, death.
We should probably prepare for capture.
With concerns about her well-being and the safety of beachgoers after several reports of aggressive behavior, the team decides to make a move.
They are not out to get us. They don't want anything to do with us, but they need help.
For months, teams like this have been overwhelmed with dozens of daily calls reporting sick or dying marine life. Hundreds of sea lions and dolphins washed up on beaches, poisoned by a toxic algae bloom outbreak called pseudonychia.
This algae gets eaten by the fish, and then the sea lions and the dolphins will eat this fish, and then the toxins build up in their system and can lead to all sorts of issues.
Scientists say while blooms of this nature can be common, an outbreak like this has never spread so wide for so long. Officials estimate more than 100 dolphins and several hundred sea lions have been killed by the bloom. It's something we've been following for weeks.
And behind me, another dolphin washing up on shore. Researchers rushing here to collect samples, to take measurements, and to wait for those lab results.
At the Marine Center in San Pedro, California, room is well over capacity.
How does this year compare to years previous?
The worst we've seen, period. Not only the scale and the scope of the bloom itself out in the ocean, but the impact on our marine wildlife.
Here, workers scramble to treat dozens of infected sea lions, quarantined in cages, including sick mothers who can no longer feed their pups.
And what did you do to your chin?
Head veterinarian Dr. Laura.
Yeah, climate change isn't going to affect humans, but it's going to have a drastic impact on the wildlife around us, which will make it even harder for people.
Lauren Palmer is leading the charge, caring for that rescued female found on the beach.
It's been a severe one for us. It's definitely tapped all of our resources.
With a worsening climate and an El Nino year making conditions worse, she's worried that what was once an unusual crisis will now become an annual event.
My fear would be that they are more frequent, that they might be of greater intensity or longer duration.
And Steve Patterson joins us now in the studio. Steve, that pup, it looked like it was in pretty bad shape. Any update on how it's doing right now?
It was in pretty bad shape for a long time. It was touch and go for a while, but the pup got a whole lot better. We actually named her. I named her.
You got to name the pup?
Yeah, I got to name the pup.
What's the pup's name?
Margot.
Margot.
A young female, I should say, not a pup, young female named Margot after my mother.
Aww.
And they told me if I was able to name it, that means she's doing a whole lot better. So I think she's on the full road to recovery.
Wow, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of what we saw, toxic algae or toxins in the algae, is this natural? Did humans do this? What's going on?
So it is completely natural, and that's the problem. So many people have asked us, why can't they just remove the algae? Is there something they can do to clean it? It's a naturally occurring phenomenon. The problem is it usually doesn't last this long. It's usually not this pervasive. Usually it doesn't affect this many animals. So that's the problem, and it's all exacerbated, of course, by climate change. It's those warming waters that makes conditions for this a whole lot worse. And so that's why it's so wide and so expansive this time. Scientists are doing all they can, but there's not really much they can do except wait it out. So it's kind of a natural occurrence that's made worse by us, of course, and nothing scientists can do about it.
Another ripple effect.